Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight 2, or as it should have been called, Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight, is the sequel to last year's Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. And this came out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, nowhere. I had no clue this came out or was coming out until yesterday. And I did 2 freaking videos on October releases. I looked on every site and I went to, like, I watched the Netflix upcoming releases, spooky releases for Halloween on Netflix, all sorts of stuff. This was never mentioned, ever. I never saw a trailer for this. I never saw nothing until yesterday, and I was like, okay. So this is a Polish film. The last one was like a straight up 80s slasher. This one, wow, okay. So I have a feeling that I'm going to be in the minority on this, and I'm fine with that. I can be all the time, so I'm not that worried about that. But I was like really into this movie. Like I really, really enjoyed this a fuck ton. Like this was a super surprising film for me. What I really enjoyed about this movie is that it totally subverts your expectations and does not go the rinse, lather, repeat copy of the original, which might be unappealing to some. This one is, it's not, I don't want to, okay. It is wildly different, but it does take place right after the first, like directly after the first one. So the survivor of the last one, the killers from the last one, they're in this. And this one more deals with this young cop, and he is, not really respected by his peers. He's not really taken seriously. He's kind of a dreamer. He has these high hopes of being this badass, cool guy, romantic, and his romantic life is not going so well. And they get these new people into the prison or into the jail, and it is people from the last movie. And they all go to investigate this, and then everything takes a dramatic turn. I thought for sure that this film was just going to be a copy of the last one. I just figured, the killers from the first one would break out of jail and just kill everybody. I thought for sure that was what was going to happen here. Not even close. Not even close. That said, I don't even know if I want to say anything else when it comes to this film. Because what it did end up becoming, in fact, I almost feel like I already said too much but I don't know what else to say. With it being a review. I figure if you're like really into this and you wanted to see this, you've already watched it at this point anyway, right? So I'm not going to be ruining it for those people. They're going to experience the subversion of expectations here like I did. The first one to me was fine. I liked it. I thought it was a cool 80s throwback. I didn't like all the meta references and all that Randy Scream shit. I just am not a fan of that. And they went overboard with it. All the rules and the very self-aware people that they know they're in a horror movie kind of stuff. And the music was really cool and the kills were good and all that stuff. So I did like that. I liked it as an 80s slasher homage. This is totally different movie. It's not a slasher. This is much more of a monster movie. And man, so I think I'm going to talk about spoilers just for a minute. I'm not going to get deep into them, but I'm just going to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, turn it off, check it out, see if this goes in a way you'll like. But I definitely think this won't work for some people, or most people. I should say most. I don't think they're going to like the tonal shift here. I don't think that they're going to like where the story goes, but this is how a sequel should be to me. Like, you should take risks, you should change it up, and they play with the mythos and they expand on things and they try new things, and it really worked for me. Like, this is much better than the first one for me. I really enjoyed this. Like, big surprise of the year, especially since literally such a surprise that I didn't even know it was happening. So, spoilers really quick. and then I'll move on. All right, so spoilers from here on. So this whole romantic love story thing and this girl turning into this monster and we getting this kind of lore of that a piece of the moon broke off and it came down and now it infects them and that the world is shit, and they kind of have this back and forth and he's really like questioning her of like why, and there's some really funny dialogue there too. He's like, well, that's not, something, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, that's not really a good enough reason to kill people. He says it a little bit more intelligent and poetic than that. And I thought that was funny. Actually, it made me laugh. But then the conversation they have about it, and you can see they're both kind of tortured souls even before this happened to them, and that they're being influenced by, this ooze that comes out and leaks into her and that she pumps into him, and they kind of start to have this romance. Something I should have said in the spoiler-free part is that I actually would have liked to have gotten more out of this. I would have liked this to be maybe 10-15 minutes longer. I would have enjoyed to see more of their romance, a couple more killings between them, just to kind of see that, almost a natural born killers, Mickey Mallory Knox style thing going on here, so that when he doesn't kill his coworker, the other cop, there's a little bit more of a jealousy there. Their relationship is formed so quick. They kind of have a little quick romance. There's a sex scene, which is really gnarly and gross, and her tits are all like pointy and nasty, and she's a beautiful girl, before she turns. So, I know her body, and obviously anything like that proportionally isn't like that. This thing has completely corrupted every bit of her body and made her grotesque. And that's the point of it. It's supposed to make you absolutely hideous, and it takes every part of your body and makes it so. And so, I love the idea of her changing him, for them connecting. I just wish I would have gotten more. This could have been a love. Like, this could have been a straight up, like, one of my favorite movies of the year. It's still probably going to make my list, honestly, at the end of the year, maybe a little lower, but I really liked this. It's just what it was missing for me would have been more of an expansion of their romance and their killing spree and the betrayal that she feels, and having a little bit more impact on that because we've spent a little bit more time with it. But there are some really funny, unexpected moments in this. I like when the girl kind of gives him a hug and then shoves him into the monster and runs off. That was super unexpected to me. I thought by that point that romance was going to form between them. Oh man, was I ever wrong. And then when they go on their little hunt together on this guy that he hates, and they're stalking him and they're having their conversations and they're kind of laughing at horror tropes like, oh, he saw me in the window, then he came back and I wasn't there, and they're laughing, and then they're practicing growling and they go into his house and stab him through the head. And I was very happy to see him kill somebody, because I thought he was just going to pull the, oh, I'm not killing anybody, I'm not that kind of monster, that kind of person. But he didn't. He did kill, and that's where I would have liked to have seen that. But then there is this connection to this other girl, and I think we should have definitely explored that a little bit more. I'd have to go back and check if the girl in his dream in the opening is the cop he works with. Now that I'm thinking about it, I bet it is. I was kind of on autopilot at that moment when the film started. I thought that was a cute little opening with his dream sequences. I figured it was either a movie that someone was watching or it was someone's fantasy. But I wasn't fully paying attention to who the girl was. But now that I think about it, it probably was his coworker. And I guess if that's true, it does set up his romantic feelings for her. So maybe they did do a good enough job from that, and I didn't just catch it till right now. So maybe that's okay. But I just would have liked to have spent a little bit more time between the romance of monsters, and I could have listened to their dialogue and their back and forth of the morality versus, the instinct and the call from what's in them now, and that they've both been betrayed by the world, and they both hate it, because she was in this Camp Adrenaline in the first movie, and she was there to get rid of like cell phone addiction and all this stuff, and she was a troubled kid, and she's now lashing back out at the world because she was pretty easily corruptible by this stuff, and he's rejecting it more than she is. And the fact that the killers from the first are really just shown in the jail cell, and all they do is kill themselves at the end was so cool. Like, you think you're going to see these guys, you think they're going to do something, and really they just sacrifice themselves, kill themselves. And another thing I should have said in my spoiler free part of this was that I actually would really like to see a sequel to this. I would like to see where the after credit sequence, it's like a mid credit sequence, should I say. I didn't wait till after the entire credits if there is something, but there is something right after the first initial blackout. I don't even know if any credits come up, but I figured, I think the title and that's about it. And then we get a big long pause, and I was like, something's going to be here. And they're experimenting on him. And I would like to see this expanded even more, to see more about it. There is some exposition here being delivered by her, but that's, I mean, what we want to a degree. They don't overdo it. So we get just enough information. And their romance is cool, and I like it. I just would have liked to have seen more. And I think that a film is successful if you're wanting more out of it, as opposed to less. But yeah, I was into this guy. I was into her. I was into all the switches and the bait and switches and just kind of going against what everyone thought this movie was going to be. I think that's super cool. I respect the fuck out of this movie for taking a serious risk and completely changing this film from people's expectations. That doesn't always work out. In fact, it doesn't work out a lot of the time. Halloween 3 or Friday 5 or, Jason Goes to Hell, which I don't like Jason Goes to Hell, but I do like the other two aforementioned ones. So take the risks, though. I like them. I'm good with them. And it worked here for me, for sure. But will I be in the minority? Probably. I think this will probably not land with people. Most people hadn't even seen the first one. So I think a lot of people are not even going to watch this. But I hope this gets them to want to watch the first one, having seen it released, and go, wait, what's part 2? And then they go search for part 1 and they see it's on there as well. And maybe they'll do a double feature. But yeah, this was cool. This was cool. This was a surprise. I dug the shit out of it. And I hope I hope others do as well. Yeah, there's some CGI in here, but it's blended pretty well with some good practicals, and I think there's some pretty good gore in here. But it was more the love story, it's more the twists and the turns that I was into, more so than the kills and that. So good on them for that, for surprising me with this one and just trying something different. So if you're still here and you haven't checked it out, you know what's going to happen at least. If that's the way you like it, cool. Let me know if you watch it. I'll be real curious on this one, on the people who did see the first one, and what they think of this one. But you asked for different things. Here you go. Let me know. Adios.